The OBG brought to you by
H.C. Henderson Esquire.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the great AI gamble, and this is part 2. So even the skepticism grows around the scale and speed of the artificial intelligence boom. The industry's biggest names remain, like strikingly confident. Sam Altman, for example, the public face of OpenAI, and arguably of AI itself, due to ChatGPT's success, has never shied away from acknowledging that a bubble might be forming. Yet his belief in the technology and its potential seems unshaken. And he said recently something along the lines of, are we in a phase where investors as a whole are overexcited about AI? In my opinion, yes. And is AI the most important thing to happen in a very long time? My opinion is also yes. Now, he has a damn cheek to admit that there's a bubble, but he's just going to soldier on. Why? It might have something to do with the billions invested in him. Now, it's also a sentiment shared by many of the devils in Silicon Valley, where optimism remains a kind of currency. Mark Zuckerberg has also hinted at the dawn of superintelligence, the AI that surpasses human ability, as he says, may be closer than skeptics imagine. For them, the gamble isn't whether AI will change the world, but how soon it will do so. And once again, we're thrust into the weird dreams of the small European tribe and their ideas of how that whole world should work. All the same, this sense of inevitability and, dare I say, invincibility from them does drive enormous investment. Now, Sam Altman argues that OpenAI still doesn't have enough computing power to meet user demand because they believe that scaling up is the clue, the way to do everything. But there's some pundits who are saying, well, no, because we have to find a new method. And he says this as hundreds of millions of people across the world turn to tools like ChatGPT to write code, design and create. And the result is a scramble to build bigger data centers, faster chips and stronger models before rivals get there first. However, I think something else is afoot. At the same time, firms like OpenAI and what's the other one called? Anthropic are trying to push back against a growing wave of academic enthusiasm and criticism. Reports from Harvard and Stanford have suggested that much of AI's current output amounts to work slop, content that looks impressive but adds nothing of real value. And I can see this too. In response, OpenAI, they've published their own research showing models performing close to expert levels in specific tasks. And they claim that, we found that something along the lines of we found that today's best front-end models are already approaching the quality of work that's produced by industry experts. And they also said that given some tasks which to AI before humans, putting the AI before humans could save a lot of companies time and money. And the companies are buying into that. And that confidence is key to the business's case, which is not really a good case. Now, executives, they argue that as AI systems improve, people are going to be willing to pay more for what are effectively digital assistants capable of performing at their PhD level. And still, some leaders concede that speculation is part of the cycle. Mark Zuckerberg, who's committed billions to AI development, he said that while the AI bubble is quite possible, his great affair is missing the opportunity entirely. What a way to live. I'm just going to take a risk anyway so I don't feel embarrassed, rather than doing something, more positive. So and he also said that if they end up misspending a couple of $100 billion, that's unfortunate, but the risk is higher on the other side. Now, this is absolute insanity. The anatomy of a bubble, according to economists, they've also warned a long time that bubbles often look like progress. And that's, of course, until they don't. And they begin with excitement and the usual momentum, and then they swell into mania. And we've seen this before with the dot-com bubble. And the late Hyman Minsky, who studied such cycles, described 5 stages. He said there's displacement, boom, euphoria, profit-taking, and finally panic. And I believe now we're in between the euphoria and profit-taking stages. And the market's reaction to China's DeepSeek in January, when the company unveiled a competitive AI model built at a fraction of the Western cost, was telling. Now, within days of that happening, global tech and all their shares, they plummeted and lost $1 trillion in value. And Nvidia, the chip maker that symbolizes the boom, dropped 17% in a single session. And for a moment, it looked like the pop had finally come, but of course it didn't. Silicon Valley barely flinched, and within months, tech giants had doubled down on their spending plans. Nvidia stock not only recovered, but surged to new records, briefly making it the world's most valuable company. And this resilience, it's drawn comparisons to the late 1990s. Back then, dot-com companies raised fortunes on the promise of an internet revolution, often measured in website clicks rather than real profit. And the infrastructure built during that period eventually laid the groundwork for the modern web, but only after many early players vanished in the crash. Bret Taylor, he's OpenAI's chairman. He says a similar duality today. It's both true that AI will transform the economy, he said, and that we're in a bubble where a lot of people lose a lot of money. Now, even as the skepticism grows, the biggest names still remaining quietly confident. And where this leads to, who knows? And it remains to be seen. I will be covering more of this in some future posts. I'll be talking about AI, the positives as I see them, the positives as they see them, and of course some of the negative. Stay tuned. I am Newbie G.